Buckle up, because this isn't your average tech talk. Welcome to Crazy AI Unplugged with the Indian Tech Girl, an electrifying new podcast where we go behind the scenes with the sharpest minds in the industry to uncover how AI is reshaping business and what advice they have for those looking to adopt it. They not only talk AI, but also apply AI in their work. From billion-dollar startups to underground innovators, we interview and decode the people and ideas shaping the next decade. Whether you're a startup guy, business owner, or just curious about how AI might transform your industry or your life, this is your front row seat. I am India's first AI podcaster. I talk AI using AI. Follow my channel, The Indian Tech Gal, for AI trends, courses, and growth hacks for your business. Watch my AI podcast with real people every week. See you there.
हाँ करेक्ट वो नेचुरल है ना यार, कोई बंदा हो तो सामने उसी को.
Do you know all the notifications you see on leading consumer brands in retail, food delivery, banking, and travel? Those personalized messages, all are powered using CleverTap. Joining me is someone who didn't just ride the mobile revolution, he helped architect it. He's the brain behind CleverTap, a platform trusted by brands to engage users at the right moment, with the right message. A product visionary, a systems thinker, and a relentless builder. Please welcome Anand Jain, co-founder of CleverTap and a true legend in India's SaaS journey. Hi Anand. Please tell us about your journey.
Thank you for having me. I have a very unconventional background. I studied commerce in school and graduated as a BCom. But I've always been an engineer at heart, and I taught myself how to write code. I taught myself finer things about programming, and I was very lucky to get an opportunity to go work in the US and then come back and start a consumer business like a restaurant discovery platform, and then CleverTap. So CleverTap started about 12 years ago when I was at a large media conglomerate in India. Me and my co-founders used to work there, and we discovered the problem of customer data, but in multiple silos, right? So there were products like analytics that had some part of the customer data, A/B testing products had some other part of the customer data, messaging tools like SMS, email had some other parts, and none of this was through none of this you could get a composite view of who the user really is, and you could not leverage that information to personally message them or to reach out to them in a very personalized, natural way. And that started the idea of CleverTap. So CleverTap today is a SaaS, is an enterprise startup. We call it a customer engagement platform that unlocks customer lifetime value, limitless customer lifetime value for you. And the idea of CleverTap is to put all customer data in one place, all their interactions, their behavioral data, their demographic data, and to derive insights from that one, to get customer segmentation, predictions, recommendation, using AI to communicate with the users, and do all of this in one platform. So that's what CleverTap does.
Wow, the scale of communications and personalizations CleverTap enables is just incredible. I mean, with so many messages, user journeys, and touch points, it's hard to imagine this being done manually. So is there something where CleverTap leverages AI?
Yeah, AI is very central to what we do. In fact, 12 years ago when we started the company, we realized the importance of data, right? And we built a data technology called Tesseract DB, and we had to invent it, we had to write it from scratch. What it lets you do is, it lets you leverage all of the customer data in real time, and it removes all limitations from, we call this putting tech in MarTech, like, it removes all limitations of your typical marketing automation product. Now having all this customer data in one place also gives you a phenomenal advantage of using AI or leveraging AI. So in CleverTap, the product, the way we use AI is to, one, show you insights of the customer information. We let you personalize all your communication. Things like predictions, which I mentioned, is also run off machine learning and regression, and leverages a lot of AI. Recommendation engine, for example, that figures out what kind of products typically go with one another. And for a person buying one product, you could go show them the other one and offer them at a good discount or a good price point where they could purchase. And lastly, can you use AI, can you leverage AI to generate messages, right, that resonate with your customers? So capabilities like Scribe in CleverTap let you do that. You can, if you're a bank and you're all about customer trust, you can create messages where the core message is the same, but the language used around it and the emojis and all of that stuff will denote trust. If you're a food delivery brand, for example, a little funky and you want to appeal to a younger generation, maybe you want to have a tongue-in-cheek humor, you can use Scribe for that. So we do leverage AI across different parts of our product capabilities in CleverTap.
Wow, so CleverTap was launched over a decade ago. That means you've been harnessing AI way before it became the buzzword it is today. That's truly visionary. You've talked a lot about customer-facing AI, personalization, segmentation, engagement. But I'm curious, are there any ways you're also using AI internally for operations, decision-making, or even team productivity?
Yeah, we've off late, with the, I would say, explosion of ChatGPT, it first started with a few people using this as an individual capacity. But over a period of time, what we have come to realize is that you can put the power of AI to run some truly, good business processes, right? For example, detecting the sentiment of our own customers, right? Based off the customer tickets, based on the communication that we do with them, the reach out, the usage of the product, like, can we detect how heavily engaged a customer is with the CleverTap product, right? And what are the potential hotspots where that we need to act on to figure out items of the roadmap. We also use AI, in that's a widespread use case to record calls. And for those people who did not attend it, go look at the chat transcript and catch up on the meeting that they were not able to attend. So there are parts of it that we use where we use AI. We have to use a lot more of that. I realize that. The one part that we have been constantly experimenting is can we leverage code generation tools to actually speed up development time? Can we use quality assurance capabilities from AI to go do a faster QA process so we can roll out capabilities a lot faster? So yes, so AI is available across the board. Sorry, and I one other thing I forgot to mention is we also use AI to detect changes in SEO rankings for our web pages. So on the marketing side, we use AI too, and we sometimes use AI to kind of write down descriptions of products that we are launching.
It's amazing how deeply you've already applied AI, not just talked about it. You've seen real outcomes, and that kind of hands-on experience is rare. We're really lucky to have you here today. Now, shifting gears a bit, you've mentored so many founders, led boot camps, and been a big advocate of building MVPs fast to validate ideas. Back then, building an MVP could take months. Just getting the basics in place was a huge effort. But today, with AI in the picture, that timeline has collapsed. You can build prototypes or even near-final products in just days. So with this fundamental shift, what's your advice to founders now? Has the startup playbook changed? And if so, how should entrepreneurs think differently about launching in this new AI-powered era?
If you look at the history of computing or software programming, right? If I take a view of the last 30 years, the time to launch has come down considerably, right? Considerably. Every 10 years, the time to launch shrinks further. Back in the days, you had to, write your own web server, write a lot of the protocols. If you're programming with dates, you had to write those things. And then we had products like Apache that came in, they provided a lot of libraries. They had a web server. You got an operating system from Linux. You could get computers for cheap, you could rent servers instead of buying them, and you could launch your product very, very quickly, right? Then came cloud, and in cloud, you can literally assemble different pieces and you can launch a product. You still had to write code for that, right? So you had to identify customer needs, write code to solve it, go test it with some people, and then launch it, right? Even if it's an MVP. These days, it has shrunk considerably from months to weeks to days to maybe now within 24 hours, you can vibe code something and you can use AI to actually test out. You can literally have 3 versions of the same thing, go do a public launch and maybe have, figure out which one is working better than the other two, right? So not only can you MVP, but you can also try out different variations probably on the same day. I think that capability of AI to help you write code uh, is a boon for the non-engineers also. Like, now they can go experiment. If they have an idea in mind, they can quickly check it out whether it works or not.
That's very interesting. Well said. And now, with AI making things so much easier, even non-technical founders can build pretty advanced tools. But because of that, we're seeing a lot of people jumping in, building AI products just because it's trending. Everyone wants to ride the wave. What's your advice to them? How do you separate hype from real value when everyone's rushing to build something AI powered?
I think the people chasing goals or people chasing trends has been around for a long time. One thing I would say keep in mind is that you have to, it is not about the speed of the launch, but it is truly about solving a real pain point, right? A lot of the best startups or the most scaled companies in the world started because the early team or the founders realized that there is a specific need that they need solved, like, that there is a problem that they should be solving, and there were no products out there to solve it, right? And they started saying, hey, I'm sure I'm not the only one who has this problem, like, let's find others who might also be facing the same problem. And from therein they started their companies. So even now, when you have access to, like vibe coding and access to a lot of other tools and technologies that you can quickly launch, right? I think it's best to spend a majority of the time discovering a unique problem that has not been solved before. Or if a problem has been solved, maybe there's a better way to solve it with all the latest tools that are available, right? So figure that part out. That will make you a successful, I'm not sure whether the startup as a whole will be successful, but definitely the launch will be successful. And then you learn from your customers, and then you keep on changing and adapting the product.
Just to build on that, AI today feels like a Swiss Army knife. You can apply it to almost anything across industries, workflows, customer journeys. But that's also the challenge, right? There are too many directions you can go. So how should early stage founders narrow it down? How do you actually find that one unique problem worth solving with AI, rather than just building something because it's possible?
A lot of the communication is solved these days. Back in the days, you had to actually go meet people. With the advent of video calling or things like FaceTime, or just going and writing an email or WhatsApp to a person helps you reach out to a lot of people, right? So I think one of the ways is to go meet multiple people and run the early stage idea by them, like, hey, do you also have the same problem? Or figure out some focus groups, like, so for example, if you're building a product for the construction industry, right, it's best to meet as many people across different levels, like, in that industry, to figure out if you truly solve the problem or if it's an imaginary problem that you're trying to work on, right? I think getting that validation with the communication tools out there, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's like, face-to-face meeting, is very, very important before you decide what to build.
Wow, that really simplifies a lot, just the way it should. It's fascinating that even after so many years, the fundamentals of the startup approach still hold strong, and you nailed it perfectly. Now, moving to the next part. AI is ready, but what about adoption, especially in India? How can SMEs actually adopt AI and stay ahead? Because a lot of times, there's a gap. India tends to adopt new technologies a bit later. So with AI now becoming mainstream, what kind of structural or cultural shifts are needed for Indian SMEs to truly embrace and benefit from
I
it?
think one of the advantages of being in India is that I have seen that you can leapfrog certain technologies, right? There are certain things that you can directly jump. For example, we have one of the most advanced mobile networks in this country, right? And we went from landline phones to something in the intermediate all the way to the most advanced technology, right? The cheapest data rates in the world leads to mass spread of these technologies and products, right? SME specifically, I think, like I said, you need to truly solve for a problem that they're facing. That's number one, non-negotiable. The second thing is acquiring their trust in the technology, not in you, right? So when you build an AI product and when you want them to adopt it, like, you have to go up the level of trust. We call this the ladder of trust, right? On day one, like, if you say this AI is going to do all your bookkeeping, I don't think so an SME is going to take that, like, and say, okay, well, from now on I can do something else while AI does my bookkeeping. There will be a level of supervision or oversight required. Once you have gained the basic trust, then you can go to the next level, right? So the adoption, like in my last 25 years in India, I've seen that the adoption is slow in the beginning and then it takes off, like, once the trust is there. So build something in which you can also grow along with the enterprise, along with the SME, and then, you can build it in pieces and, win trust in pieces.
Awesome. I think you beautifully covered both sides, how SMEs can adopt AI, and what startups need to do to enable that adoption. Super crisp and actionable. Now I'd love to shift gears a bit, from the company level to the personal side. You're clearly leading innovation at CleverTap and beyond. But what about personally? How are you using AI in your day-to-day life?
Personally, I use AI as a replacement of Google search. When you do a search in Google, it shows you top 10 links, and then you have to go through each link and figure out whether you have the answer that you're looking for. I started doing this experiment like a few months ago, where I would say, okay, well, today I'm only going to go look at ChatGPT as one of the products and go do my, all my research, all my questions, etc. queries are going to go into ChatGPT. And what I discovered was that ChatGPT summarizes everything and presents you the results. It gives you the answers actually, right? And as the models improve, it is now going to go do research on your behalf. It will show you the thought process or chain of thought, as we call it. And that gives me confidence. So to building upon that earlier point, today a majority of my questions are answered by ChatGPT and not by Google. Now I know Google has that snippet that they show, but ChatGPT gives me like a much better composed answer, right? Because that's a AI native product versus an existing product that has been retrofitted with AI. So that is one of the products I use. We also use several products, in our lives. Whether it's for video editing, whether it's for quickly creating like a presentation for some of our prospects and customers, we use AI in that. So that's my breadth of users.
Totally agree with you. With Google, there's just too much noise sometimes. But with ChatGPT and tools like Perplexity, things get so streamlined. I've been using them together too. It's honestly a game changer. If Google's listening to this podcast, they might want to take notes. Now shifting into something deeper. Leadership mindset. What kind of mindset shift do you think tech leaders need today to truly make the most of AI? What should companies or startups be doing differently at the leadership level to actually start leveraging AI in a meaningful way?
Yeah, I think what typically happens is that when you have a new technology wave, you try to fit it in the existing mental model, right? And physical frameworks, right? For example, if you have an existing product and you want to bolt on AI, you'll most likely use the existing interfaces. If it's a point and click interface, etc., and you will try to put AI on top, right? With ChatGPT, we have seen that they started with not a point and click interface. They actually started with like a chat interface. Literally, you could talk to AI, which now seems very natural, but like 3 years ago, it seemed very far fetched. Like, how can you chat with an AI, right? So how do you adapt your products? How do you show leadership? Like, I think the mental model is to, one, make do with what it is, but very quickly figure out what is the native format for this new technology, right? Are we going to put this in hardware and have people just talk to it? Are we going to put this in glasses and have people see augmented reality? Are we going to put it in business workflows? And instead of us asking questions to AI, can it bubble up insights to us? Can it become a colleague for us? Can it become like a part of your team that you can go brainstorm with, like, as if you were doing it with a real world colleague, right? And do that. So I think that is, to me, that mental model shift is very important, and that will lead you to kind of be AI native or AI.
Adding to that, mindset is one part, but leadership isn't just about thinking up new products. It's also about people. In most teams, not everyone finds it easy to unlearn and adopt new tools, especially something like AI, which can feel overwhelming or even threatening. So as a tech leader, how do you bring your team along? How do you motivate and encourage your team to start using AI so that adoption doesn't just stay at the top, but actually becomes part of the entire company culture? Leadership.
First of all, AI is the new thing, right? And people are reluctant to use it. They may have used it in their personal life, but there's reluctance, right? Why are people reluctant? Because how do we put this in the workplace, right? Is it safe? Like, I might put in customer data in there, I might put sensitive business data in there. Is this the right way to use AI? So no one really knows the right answer. These things are evolving as we speak. So there's a little bit of caveat there. I think you as a leader, you have to say that can AI do this, right? With human supervision, and can we, instead when we hire someone new, like, how can we put 20% of the work that we do through AI, and which might lead to discovery of better tools. Again, you'll be stuck with something that you were familiar with 3 years ago. You're adopting more and more in the enterprise. There might be newer and newer things that are launching. So as a leader, what I do in marketing, the marketing team, is once a week we do this leadership calls, and I actively encourage people to tell us about any new thing that they've discovered, or a better way to do it, a faster way to do it, and that becomes a competitive advantage. So it has to be done by the leader. The leader has to accommodate, because it will change your business workflows. It will change your speed time to deliver. Now, not all parts of your organization will move at the same speed, and that's what you need to accommodate as a leader.
Wow, I love that. So the leader needs to be okay with a bit of a slowdown during adoption if they want long-term AI success. And more importantly, they should create space for the team to experiment and suggest, not just execute. That's powerful. So before we wrap, one last question. What's one message you'd like to share with early-stage founders who are navigating this whole AI boom right now? What should they really keep in mind as they build in this fast-moving space?
Early stage startups navigating AI boom, be very careful. Not try to build like a feature. You need to have a product, right? As the AI models evolve, as the form factors evolve, today most of the form factors are keyboard driven, or they're you're chatting with AI. Tomorrow it will be voice, sound, vision. All of these will come into play, right? So figure out where the ball is going, where the technology is trending, and what will become obsolete if a model improves. So the best way to think about this is, if the model became 10 times, like on the basis of what you're building your product, if it became 10 times better, like a footnote in history, or will I actually thrive based on what is happening? So you have to obviously choose the latter, not the former. So keep that in mind. Figure out that this is going to grow exponentially. We have only scratched the surface of what AI is possible. Like there is a lot more coming, and very, very rapidly.
Just to add to that, something that comes to mind from what you said. Earlier, there was always this mindset: services don't scale, and you have to eventually build a product if you want to grow big. But now, with AI moving so fast, I'm seeing a shift. In product, people rush in, burn money, and find themselves in crowded markets, with 10 other startups doing the same thing, often with no pricing power or differentiation. Meanwhile, in services, there's huge demand. Clients just want results, and as a service provider, you can stay nimble and use whatever the latest AI tool is. So with that shift, what's your take? Would you recommend early-stage founders go the product route or start with services, especially in the AI space today?
I think product, an undifferentiated product will die, of course. So you got to build the differentiators, and the differentiation comes from understanding your customer's use case very, very, very deeply. I can't stress on this enough. If there is one takeaway from this, is to go sit with the customer, as many as customers or prospects as possible, and go deep dive on each of the things that they want to solve for. And now, don't go with an AI mindset. Don't go with hey, I can use AI here. Go with solving the customer's problem first, and then we can use AI or not. That's the second thing. So that's one of the things. The second thing in services, I think services is a grand enabler of visions that a company might have, but they don't know how to do it. And that's where you get the service providers in, and the service providers say, okay, well, these are the three choices, and I can build this for you, or I can deploy some people to help you out with these things. So I think there is no vice versa. It's not like one over the other, right? Both are extremely needed. They're needed, if you want to solve a particular enterprise's problem. They both, of course, have their own set of challenges. There is no easy way out of.
Fair enough. That was a very diplomatic answer. Before we close, just one final thing. Are there any books, podcasts, or resources you'd recommend for someone who really wants to deep dive into the AI startup space? Something that's helped you, or that you think every founder today should check out?
There is no one resource, okay? So, what I do is I try to triangulate across multiple things. From the chip industry, what's going on there. the supply chain, and who's placing orders with Nvidia, AMD, and so on and so forth, who's building the data centers or the giga centers, all the way to who's deploying AI in things like robot taxis. So I follow some engineers on Twitter, where you can find out how are they thinking about AI, because that's a very different use case of AI than the chat GPT interface, right? Then you follow some of the thought leaders who are worried about the proliferation of AI, so they're worried about AI was to run amok, what is going to happen, right? And how can we put guardrails around this? So there is some people working on super alignment, there are some people who are working on AGI, there are some people working on super intelligence. So you get a diverse perspective of how this AI movement, if I can call it that, is shaping forward, from multiple perspectives. So there's a bunch of Twitter handles, that's my favorite medium, apart from podcasts, that I'll share in the show notes, and then you can follow them.
Sure. So I think the main takeaway is don't just follow the people who talk AI, follow people who do AI, who apply AI. Yeah, the practitioners. That's a very good takeaway. So I remember someone suggesting that you should take advice from someone who has actually done something, rather than taking advice from someone who's never done something and they just do gyanbazi. So that's a great takeaway. And so we all would like to know what's next for you and CleverTap in the AI space ahead.
I think we are super excited about the possibilities of what AI brings to a product like ours. AI it gives me the same excitement that I had when I started the company 12 years ago, because with AI you can literally redefine how people experience your product and what value they get from your product, right? Imagine a world which is agentic in nature, where there are multiple agents, and these agents are they're like superheroes, and you can pick a list of superheroes. Now, whether you have the budgeting agent that manages a budget for your enterprise, for example, if you have hey, on customers I'm only going to spend this much amount of money, right? This is the budget allocated by management. Or if you have a brand guideline agent which says, you know what, while we can send out messages in any brand, any tonality, but this is I'm a bank, I need to follow this brand guidelines, right? Or there's a regulatory agent. Then there is an orchestration agent that puts it all together. There is a agent that respects customers' consent or the frequency of messaging, and all of this comes together to help you run your business, run your growth from a single product, is the future I look forward to, and I look forward to building it.
Wow, that's such a powerful use case, and I'm sure it'll spark ideas for so many startups and companies listening in. And before we close, I have to ask this. You're actually the first guest on our AI podcast series with the Indian Tech Girl, so thank you for kicking this off with us. How's the experience been for you? And what are your thoughts on this whole idea, blending tech, AI, and storytelling in this fresh, creator-first format?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I was nervous a bit, but I'm so excited now that to be the first ever guest on this AI podcast. I think this is the future, right? We will probably some point of time have both the, AI as the podcast host and AI as a responder, once distill my thoughts. But it's a milestone, I think. It's an exciting time. This truly shows the times we're living.
Great having you on the show, Anand. Thank you so much for your time. You've shared some truly valuable insights, especially on how CleverTap is using AI across the board, how founders should ensure they are focused on solving actual customer problem over being obsessed with AI. Honestly, each use case you mentioned could inspire a whole new product or even a startup. I'm sure our listeners, especially the founders and tech leads, are walking away with tons of ideas and inspiration. Thanks again. Buckle up, because this isn't your average tech talk. Welcome to Crazy AI Unplugged with the Indian Tech Girl, an electrifying new podcast where we go behind the scenes with the sharpest minds in the industry to uncover how AI is reshaping business and what advice they have for those looking to adopt it. They not only talk AI, but also apply AI in their work. From billion-dollar startups to underground innovators, we interview and decode the people and ideas shaping the next decade. Whether you're a startup guy, business owner, or just curious about how AI might transform your industry or your life, this is your front row seat. I am India's first AI podcaster. I talk AI using AI. Follow my channel, The Indian Tech Gal, for AI trends, courses, and growth hacks for your business. Watch my AI podcast with real people every week. See you there.
First of all, thank you for
Part 2.
first of all,
Three.
which now seems very natural, but like 3 years ago, it seemed very far-fetched. Like, now how can you chat with an AI, right? So, how? And instead of us asking questions to AI, can it bubble up insights to us? Can it become? Sorry, हाँ करें. वो नेचुरल है ना यार, कोई बंदा हो तो सामने उसी को.